Hello all, and this is part 2 of how I make my license plates. In this particular part, I would like to show you how I change the numbers on a plate. Now, I don't often do that. I normally just use the plate as is, as I did it in part 1. But I'll show you how to change the number if you'd like to. It's fairly simple in some cases. In other cases, it could get downright complicated. So anyway, I'm starting. You'll see I have the Pennsylvania plate in Gimp that we worked on in part 1. I also, across the top, you'll see I have other plates open here. I also have the plate from Ohio that Mark from Grandpa Mark's Hobbies used in his video, and I'll show you how the same thing is done in Gimp. Then I have a challenge. The brand new Pennsylvania license plates. These are brand new, the brand new design for us. You'll see that this could be very difficult to change the number because of the Liberty Bell in the background. And I'll show you how to do that because I already did it. Notice I already got rid of the numbering on it. But I'll show you how I did that. I may not do the whole thing because it would take a long time. And my last video was a little over an hour, and I'm going to try not to make this one that long. So let's go back to the Pennsylvania plate. There are several ways to get rid of the numbering and add new numbering. So the first thing I like to do before I start is make sure I pick up the color of the actual numbering on it. And I already had done that. I already did that yesterday. And you'll see I have it set here over here as my background color. And that's okay. We just wanted to make sure that that was a valid color. I don't want to lose that. Now, even though I can pick it up from one of these items, some license plates you might not be able to. So I always pick up the color first. Now, there's a couple of ways to get rid of this lettering. And I'll show you a couple of different ways. One way is to use the brush tool. And I could use the brush tool over here, paintbrush, or I can use the pencil. I'll use the paintbrush today. And I'm going to set the hardness here. I'm going to set it to hard and 100%. And then the size, I'm going to adjust once I'm in the image. And remember, the size I can adjust by doing Control plus Alt, hold them down, and use the mouse wheel to change the size of the brush. This is going to paint with the 4-color. The 4-color I already had selected as this yellow. So all I have to do is come in here and start painting. And I can remove and you may have to go over it a few times. And I can remove that letter or that number, whatever that was. So that's one way, and I could just do that across the whole thing. The other method is, and I want to just introduce this because I'll be using this in on another plate, is to use what's called the clone tool. And that looks like a little rubber stamp thing over here, clone tool, and I'll select that. We're going to make sure the hardness is again 100, and we're going to be in normal mode. And I'm going to come over, and what the clone tool does is I can pick up an area and then clone that area in a different area. That makes sense. So let me pick up just from here, because I just want to pick up that orangish yellow. But I got to hold the Control key down and click. Now when I move my brush away, you'll see that I have an area that stays. That's the area I'm going to be cloning. And if I come over here and click, I cloned it there. I click again, cloned it there. I could also drag, and watch as I drag, it moves the clone with it. So I can clone the paint away. And what's kind of neat about clone is that if I come down here, let's say, and I'm going to hold Control, click, and now I'm going to clone that area. I'm just cloning that. So it's like making copies of it. I'm just making a copy of it. All right, that's another way. Another way to do it is to come into my rectangular select tool, come in here and just draw a rectangle around what I want to get rid of. And because I'm going to lose these holes, I'm going to just click around the holes. I can then say delete and just press the delete key, and it's gone. Now I can either paint this area, or better yet, while it's selected, and I know it's select because the dotted lines are around, I can use my fill bucket, make sure my foreground is selected right here, and make sure I'm in normal mode. Just bring the can in, click, and it fills it. So that's a way to do it. Let me undo that. Control Z. The other way I can do it is to use my rectangular select tool and make a rectangle. Actually, let me do that. I'm going to just Control Z. Let me do it on this side. I have more room. And then I'm going to copy that rectangle. And I use Control C. But I'm not going to just paste this. So I've got a copy of that rectangle with the yellow background in it. I'm going to do a right click. I'm going to do an edit, and I am going to paste it as a new layer. If you remember yesterday, I had said that Gimp is a layers type based editor. So I paste it as a new layer, and here's that new layer. Paste it layer. I can come back and change that name if I want, and I'll show you how to do that then. But now what I want to do is I want to scale this. I want to scale this across. So I'm going to pick up my scale tool. I'm going to come over, click on that rectangle. And in some cases, so I'm going to come in, I'm going to hold, and I'm going to drag this over. And I'm going to keep dragging it until I get to the end and let go. Now in some cases when you do the scale tool, and it depends on how you have things set, it could also grow this way and that way. And if it grows vertically at the same time, just press and hold the shift while you drag across, and that'll hold that. That'll stop that. So that's now filled. I can do scale. And then I'm going to do my select tool and just click away to select that. So that's all done. I'm going to change this pasted layer name. So just double click on it. And I'm going to say filled color layer. You can name it whatever you want. Now I'm going to add my lettering. So there's a letter tool, a text tool right here. I'm going to click on it. And I can drag the box now, but what I want to do before I do that is select my font. Now I already have a license plate font collect it or select it. So I would just scroll through my list to select the license plate font or whatever font you want. By the way, I got to tell you, because you're going to reduce these down to some scale to fit your model, the font's not going to really make a big difference. You're not going to see that much of a difference. But I use a license plate font, and if you want to know how to install that, you can go back to Grandpa Mark's video and see how he did it, or just go out and search for license plate fonts. Here's my copyright thing again. I downloaded 3 different license plate fonts, and 2 of them have explicit warnings that they are for personal use only and not to be used on any social media or any kind of shared type resources. So I won't use those. All right, so that's that. I did that. And we also want to now make sure we have the correct color. So here's the color. But all I'm going to do is come up to my color picker for background and foreground. And I'm going to just change the arrow to make that purplish blue that Pennsylvania uses as my foreground color. And then I'm going to drag a text box onto the screen. Now I can set my font size here. I can set whether it's bold and so on and so forth. And actually I'm going to make it bold. And then just click in and type. So I'm going to say my 32 Ford. Now it overran the window. That's okay. We can fix that. There's a couple of ways to fix that. I can take my text box, come over and get the move thing, and I can move this out, and maybe I can get it to fit. Or I can select all this text, and I'm going to select it by saying Control A, select all, and then I'm going to change my font size. So I'm just going to use the roller bar, and I'm going to just come down my font size until it fits in. There it is. I'm going to come down maybe 2 or 3 more. Now it's not centered yet or anything, and that's okay too. And I'm going to take my text box. Now this is the text box, and I'm going to just grab this. Notice how the handle changes. I'm just going to bring, oops, that's not good. I'm going to do a Control Z. All right, I'm going to, actually, I went out of order here. I'm going to click on my Move tool. And then I'm going to come back onto the Text tool, click in, and now I'm going to just move this up. What it was doing the last time was it was actually adding another text box. So I moved that up. I'm still not happy with it because it's not filling the plate well. So I'm going to select tool, and I do the select tool so I can release what I already have been doing. And now I'm going to do the scale tool, and I'm going to do scaling. I'm going to click in, and I'm going to scale this down. And then I'm going to say up here, scale. It's still not centered, so I'll use the select tool, come in, click, and just drag it around and settle it, or center it. And there is my customized 1932 plate. And here's the text layer. See, the text is on a separate layer. All right, so that's how to do that one. Fairly simple, fairly straightforward. Let's go over to the one that Mark did. Here's the Ohio plate. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to size this thing because I want to get rid of this white border. And I'm going to do that just like I did it yesterday. I'm going to, or yesterday, that's in part 1. And I'm going to choose my crop tool. And I'm going to just come in here and draw the crop around. I'm going to zoom in. I want to make sure I'm at the edge of that plate. Zoom out. Move up to the other corner. And click on a corner and crop it. Now I know I've just got the license plate. I want to get rid of these white areas. Remember, in order to get transparency, you need an alpha channel. So here's the layer that the plate is on. I'm going to right click, and this time this image does not have an alpha channel. So I'm going to add an alpha channel. You won't see anything change. And then I'm going to go to my bucket, my fill bucket. I'm going to set my mode to erase. I'm going to put my threshold. I may have to be careful with my threshold because I got whites in here. So I'm going to just keep it at 31 for now, and we'll see what happens. Click, got rid of it. Look at it, got rid of all 4 of them. Click, got rid of it. Click, got rid of it. Click, click, got rid of all that stuff. Okay, now that I've got that, that's part of my analness. Right? Now I'm going to have to get rid of this and change the lettering on this. So I'm going to do that. First of all, I'm going to pick up the color of these letters. So I'm going to use my eyedropper or my color picker. I'm going to come in here and pick the color. What that did was it now changed my foreground color to the color of the font. Now I cannot use my paintbrush to just paint this because I've got this gradient of background color. So in order to get the gradient, I'm going to use a similar method to the way Mark did his. I'm going to take my rectangular select tool and I'm going to come in just slightly above these letters and I'm going to draw a rectangle about the size of the letters, a little bit over top. And I'm going to copy this. I'm going to say Ctrl C. Now I know Mark just drug it across and it was good. But in Gimp, you can't. It won't work. So I have a copy of it. I'm going to do my select tool. Just again, I wanted to release that. And I'm going to right click, edit, paste, paste as a new layer. That new layer, here's the pasted layer. That new layer is laying on top of this. I'm going to get my scale tool, click on scale, and then come over here, click in there, and then make sure that my arrow is a vertical line. Click and drag across. Drop it. And then in the dialog say scale. And it's gone. I'm going to use my select tool, click. That's how easy that was to get rid of it. Now I've got just a little bit. I don't have as much as I did when I did the experiment here, but I'm not even going to fix it. If I would have grabbed a little bit of this and had it drug in here, I could have used my clone tool. That's the little rubber stamp. I could have came in here, adjusted my brush size, Control click, and just fixed that. All right, so select. Let me zoom out a little bit. All right, so I'll add the text the same way I did in the other plate. So I'll get my text tool. I have my license plate font already selected. I have the color selected. I will come in here, drag the text box, click into it, and I don't know, my Ohio, done. All right. Now, you'll see that this is nowhere near where I want it, nor is it anywhere near the size that I want. All right. So, we're going to fix that too. We're going to, first of all, come over in our tools here, and we're going to say center. And it centers it for us. The next thing I got to do, naturally, is size this text. Now, I can do Control A to select it all, or since I can see it, I can just drag my mouse across it. And I'm going to adjust the font. And I'm just holding the roller button down and just bringing my font up. And there it is. And then I'm going to click away. And there it is. Actually, that's okay. I think the way it is, I could make that a little bigger maybe. Let me do a scale tool, click in, and then scale it. Okay, and there it is. That's all there was to that. Very simple. I can then go through and scale everything to what I want. Now, this is a good thing that you see this, because in order to scale this plate, you have three layers here. If you do a scale right now, it's only going to scale the selected layer, which is the text layer. So I have to flatten this image. I actually have to merge those layers. So I'm going to come under the layers tool. Notice I have the top layer selected. I'm going to come under the layers tool and I'm going to say merge down. I'm going to merge them. I now merged two of the layers. Now I have this one, and I'm going to say layer merge down. I now have all one layer. And now I can size this. I don't need the ruler to do it. I don't need anything. But first I'm going to do is notice my layer frame is not against the plate. So I'm going to say layer to image size. Okay? That moved it in so that the image is the same size as the layer. And then I'm going to say image, scale the image. I'm going to bump this up. I'm going to bump this up. I'm going to bump the resolution up to 1000. Just like I did yesterday. Or I keep saying yesterday because I did part 1 yesterday. Just like I did in part 1. I'm going to make this inches. And this is 2 inches across right now. But I want it for 1/25th scale, so 0.48. And then I'm going to scale. And it automatically changed my height correctly. Scale. Zoom up. And there's my plate that I can copy and paste onto a new sheet and copy it as many times as I want and print it. And it should be just fine. So there's the Ohio plate. Okay, now that we're done with the Ohio plate, let's go to the Pennsylvania plate. This new Pennsylvania plate is going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge to change this number because of the Liberty Bell that's in the background. I can't just delete these letters and numbers without destroying the Liberty Bell. So I actually can do this, but it's very time consuming. But I'm going to show you some of the methods. I may not finish this in this video, only for time constraints. But I'll do as much as I can before, the time starts getting ungodly long. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to flip my background and foreground. Now, I had already done this because naturally I tested this before I did this video, but I'm going to first set my colors. I want to preserve this color, so I used to use my color picker tool. I come over, click, and that put that color in, and I want my background color to be white, so I'm going to be click, that open. I clicked on the background color. I'm going to then use the eyedropper and say click, that set it to the background. So now I've got my two colors and I don't have to worry about that again. The next thing I can do now is I can get rid of some of this stuff in a traditional, what I call a traditional way. I'm going to use the pencil this time only because it's harder and my hardness is 100. So I'm going to use the pencil tool, but I need to make sure I'm on the background color. So I'm just going to flip the layer, or flip the colors. I'm going to come over here and on my brush, I'm going to do Control Alt and hold it and make my brush size big enough so that I don't have to work real hard. And let's scroll down here. If you saw that little pop-up, my Bluetooth speaker just timed out. And I'm just going to come in here and erase as much of this as I can just by filling it. Let me zoom in. Anyway, my Bluetooth speaker just turned off. That's what you saw there. Going to make my brush size a little smaller. Get rid as much of it as I can without destroying the bell. This will just make it easier to do what I'm going to do. Okay, and that's fine. So let me come down here. All right. When I look at this bell is symmetrical. In other words, if I cut down the middle here, this half is the same as this half, except for the crack. But that's okay. We can fix all that. In fact, I can fix that crack if I wanted to. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this and say, you know what? This corner, if I could copy that and flip it, I can put it over here and get rid of that blue. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I am going to, first of all, make sure I only have one layer. So I'm going to make sure I'm on that layer, on this layer. I'm going to come into my rectangular selection tool and I'm going to make sure I'm at least that high. So we'll come across here and I'm going to get as close to this number 1 as I can. I'm going to drag this down and make sure that I drug this down below that blue. And actually maybe I'm going to bring this out a little bit just to compensate for that. So I have that part of it selected. And I'm going to copy this now. I'm going to copy that selection. I'm going to do Control C. That copied it. I am now going to paste it as a new layer. So I'm going to say right click, edit, paste as a new layer. You can see I now have a new layer over here, and that new layer is what's in this square. And it automatically selected it so that this is now a layer that sits on top of this layer. So I did copy it. I'm now going to use the flip tool. And the flip tool is right here. I'm going to click on it. I'm then going to come over and click in this layer. That's this layer. Click. And notice it flipped it. I now have a floating section because this is floating. that I can now transform. I'm going to go over to my move tool. I'm going to come back over to this layer and I'm going to move this. And I'm now going to line this up with the current bell. And drop it. Notice it went away. And I'm going to just click away here. And now I've got a pasted layer, which is right here. And it just got rid of that. Now, before I do the next step, I want to merge these layers, because if I want to copy like this piece right in here to put on top of this number 1, I'd be copying this layer along with this layer, and funny things happen. So I'm going to come over into my layers panel. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say flatten the image. What that did was it just merged all the layers. So now I only have one layer again. Now I'm going to do something that is kind of neat. I'm going to try to do this whole number 1 at least down to here. And to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in about here and I'm going to, oops, sorry, I got the wrong tool. Let me, I have to make sure I have my rectangular select tool, and I'm going to select about here, and I'm going to just select maybe to about there. Okay, I'm going to now Control C to copy. I'm going to edit, right click, edit, paste as a new layer. I got a new layer over here. I'm going to flip. I'm going to flip this. Take my select tool. I'm going to come over here, and now I'm going to get this lined up with the bell and drop that. Click away. Looks good, doesn't it? Now I'm going to merge these layers again. I'm going to flatten the layers, right click, flatten. Now I'm going to I want to get rid of some of this stuff in here. I'm going to use my clone tool for that. Let me zoom in, and I'm going to use the clone tool, and I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller. Okay, and I'm going to Control, click, clone, clone, clone. I'm going to come up here, Control, click, clone, clone, clone. I'm going to Control, click, clone, Control, click, clone. And I got rid of that. Let's get rid of the crack. I'm going to come on this side now so that I can get the lettering. And also, you can see I got a little bit of blue in there yet. Let me just make my brush smaller. Control Alt, make my brush smaller. And I'm going to do a Control, clone, Control, clone, Control, clone, Control, clone. And I know I'm being anal here. Control, clone, but it's just me. You don't have to be this funny, fussy. You probably won't see a lot of that. But now I want to use these letters to clone the crack out, only so that the letters follow through. Let me make my brush a little bigger. So it's Control Alt, and then Control click, Control click, Control click, Control click. Now I can come on this side, or I can come on this side, Control click. Notice I'm going to get rid of that blue. Control click, Control click, Control click, Control click. I'm taking different clone areas to keep these lines fairly sharp so that they don't start looking like sine waves coming across. control click, control click, and I'm just going to I'm getting rid of this crack just by taking different areas and cloning it. So now I got rid of that. Now up close you could see that there's differences in texture here, but you know what, when you zoom out you're not going to see that. And I could fix that actually with the clone tool if I wanted. And actually I'm going to fix all this with the clone tool. So let me zoom in. I'm going to do a control click, and this time I'm going to just drag across. Okay, I'm going to control click and just keep doing that. I'm going to control click. I'm going to control click. I'm going to make my, well, I'm going to get right on the edge there. Control click. Okay, control click. And I don't want to go too far into there because I got this clapper in here. So let me zoom out a little bit. Okay, I don't like that, but we can take care of that also just by doing, again, a clone and just get rid of some of this thickness here. That's good enough. And I'll do the same thing here. Control click, click, click. Control click, 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 click. Control click, 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 click. Let me change over to the pencil, and I'm going to just get rid of this blue in here like this. Go back to the clone tool, click, 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 and I'm going to zoom up here, and I'm going to change my brush size and just control click. You don't have to be real fussy. Control click. Okay, and zoom in on this. I'm going to do control click. I don't like the way that did it. Let me do control Z, control Z. And let me do a control C. Okay. So that got rid of that. And I can do the same thing on this side. In fact, what I can do now is I can clone this whole thing. So let's do a select. I'm going to come right into here and do that. Control C to copy it, edit, paste as a new layer. There's the layer. Flip it. My move tool, bring this over and get that lined up. Drop it and click away. I'm going to merge the layers. Right click, flatten, and then come up here and use my clone tool. I can make it a little bigger. Control click, control click. Okay, look at that, man. I've almost got my Liberty Bell. But what am I going to do with this clapper? Because I don't know what that looks like. So what I actually did was I went out to the web and I searched for another new Pennsylvania license plate where the numbers did not cover the clapper. And I found that in this one. So we have a Preserve Our Heritage plate I actually, that's what I have on my car, but not this one. Mine has a train on it. I like trains. So I'm going to zoom in on this, and I want this clapper. That's what I want. I am going to select that clapper, and I don't even need the whole thing, but I'm going to take this. Okay, right there. And I'm going to copy it, Control C. And now I'm going to come back over to the plate we were working on. And I'm going to do a right click, edit, paste as a new layer. There's my clapper. Let me move this. Because what I have to do is I have to make sure this is the right size. All right, so it's easy. I'm just going to use my scale tool, click on it, and I am going to now scale this. Right here in the center, you see a square with a cross in it. You can grab that so that you can move it. And I want to just make sure, and it looks like I've got about that size that I need. I can't just drop it like that though, because it's covering up the bell. So I don't need all of that. But that's the right size at least. Okay, so let me scale that. And now I'm going to crop this pasted layer. Let me move this out of the way. Well, let me move this down on top of this. And I'm going to crop this, crop it, and I'm going to crop it to the bottom of the bell. And going to click there. Oops, Control Z. That was not a good move. As you notice, I deleted the whole plate. All right, so we got to find another way to do this. So the pasted layer, let me move this out of the way. And let me try to crop this again. We're going to actually, do I want to crop? Yeah, let's try cropping it again. I just want to crop this top piece off here. And it did it again. Control Z. I'm sorry. I got to think about how I want to do this. Let's see here. Let's do a scale tool. Let's click on this and let's bring this down like this. I'm just scaling it down. Let me bring this down a little bit like that. Let me move this over here. That's almost got it. Let me just move this up a little bit like that. That's pretty much got it. All right, so let me scale this. Let me then take this and move this on top of here. And that's got that. Let me click away. Notice I've got a different shade of white there. That can be fixed also. Let's see, while I'm in this layer, let's come in here. Let's do a bucket fill with the foreground color. Oops, Control Z. I want the foreground color, which is white. Let's see, okay. All right, let's do this a different way. All right, let's merge, let's flatten these things out. And now I'm just going to grab my pencil and just come in here and make this, and take that yellowish looking thing away. Good enough. And you know what? I've got my Liberty Bell all isolated. I also noticed that I must have, when I filled something, I must have selected my outline border, but I'm going to trim that away anyway. All right, let's put a number on this, okay? We can do that again with the text tool. Text. We're going to then drag this across. My license plate font is still collected. And I'm going to say my... Oh, and look at that. I didn't change the color of the font. Boom, boom. Let me change the color of the font right here. I want to make it my background color. Boom. So I want to make it that color. Okay. And now let's make the font my new PA. Yeah, good enough. All right. Then I'm going to click away just to deselect it because I want to size this. I want to then click in. I'm going to bring this up. Okay. I'm going to use the select tool. I'm going to leave that up there because I want to scale it. Let me bring this down. Let me actually bring this out a little bit. And I can do I can scale this to however I want this. And let me move this. I probably want to do this a little bit more there, and we'll move this here. Let's click away. All right, but you can see now I was able to get that plate with a number on it, and you can play around with the lettering as much as you need to. So that's another way. I'm just going to do one thing yet because of my being anal, is that I do want to crop this plate out. Let me come in here. Let me come in and zoom in. I want to make sure I'm on the plate. Okay. Well, I'm not bad for just eyeballing it. I'm going to click and crop. Good deal. Let me see if there's an alpha channel. I'm going to merge it first of all. I'm going to flatten it. Let me see if there's an alpha channel. There is not. I'm going to add an alpha channel. Then I'm going to use my bucket, flip my foreground colors, and I'm going to get up here and make these corners transparent. That goes away. I don't know if I can make that whole transparent. I can't. Control Z. Okay? Doesn't matter. So there's my Pennsylvania plate, my new one, and it's ready to really scale and do whatever I need. I'll scale it right now. Let's do image, scale the image. Again, I want 1000. And inches, I want 0.048. Scale it. It's telling me the image size is going to be much bigger than what I'm allowing. I'm going to scale it. It's going to take a little while. There's a lot of stuff to scale there. I'm then going to come down, and there's my new plate, and it is the size needed for a 1/25th scale model. So I hope that helped. I know that was a confusing and complicated thing, but with Gimp, if you can think of it, you can do it. I use the internet a lot to find out how to do things, but you can see you can do it. All right, so hey, thanks for watching. Again, if you liked what you see, hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell for all. I don't post a lot of videos, so, you know, I don't bug you a lot. So do that. And like I said before, I don't do this to make money. I don't do this for any reason other than I enjoy doing it. I'm one of those nerds, you know, and that's okay, because I think there's a lot of us nerds out there. Anyway, so again, please do the like, smack the subscribe, and sorry this was long again, and I hope it was helpful. So guys and gals, I will see you all in the next video. Bye.